Hi, welcome to JadeKind Gaming. I'm Adam. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing of the Star Wars Edge of the Empire role-playing game, which is the new Star Wars role-playing game by Fantasy Flight Games, I believe. Yeah. Now, this is not the first Star Wars role-playing game. There have been quite a few, and I started back when Wizards of the Coast did the revised core rulebook. That was the first Star Wars game I'd done. Then Wizards also did their Saga edition, which I'm still running a campaign of, actually. But they let the contract lapse, and so Fantasy Flight Games bought it, and they came out with their Edge of the Empire role-playing game, which started with this beginner box. I think the full game just came out, but I got this. For one, if you look at the contents which they have on the back, it comes with the dice, which are needed for the game because it uses specific dice. And the dice were really half the price of the whole box, so I figured I could try out the game that way. Let's get started. I can tell this, compared to the other boxes, is just packaging. It's not storage. But we got in here the dice, books, and cardboard divider to keep the box from being mashed, because it's really, well, it's just packaging. Alright, my first thought here is, it's a much smaller stack of materials than the other games, but I believe it was a bit of a cheaper price tag too. List of releases by Fantasy Flight Games, advertisement. Read This Book Last is the first book in the stack. Good organizing. Or maybe, are they just facing backwards? Yeah, okay, they're facing backwards, since I had to flip that over to see this. Anyways, read this first. It's what is a role-playing game. There's Star Wars characters playing the game art right there, and I think that's interesting. An example of a playthrough, how to use a map, character tokens, and then I guess this is like an intro for the adventure that's included, made to look like a scroll. Beginning scroll, that's cool. So, the adventure book, read the second. Contents. Explanation. Alright, so within this adventure it has rules, text, other sidebars. This is what the red would be what the GM would read out loud. So you have your pre-made adventure here, where it's given the information for the game master, stuff for the game master to read out loud, and then explaining the rules in these boxes here as you go through a playthrough. So that's as far as it's a brand new game, as far as the game master learning the game at the same time as the players, that's It's a good idea. And as they go on, there's less and less rules text. And then to this point, they're expanded rules. Encounter 5, Encounter 7. And then here at the end, some ideas for some other adventures in the setting that they put you in. Rewarding experience point, loot. The usual award is 15 experience points. So that's about, I was interested in the rate. Some games have an inflation of what an experience points are. Further adventures, just encouraging you have a whole galaxy to run the game in. And then some explanation of the dice, which I guess we'll do those. Oh, well, I have the list in front of me of what they are. They're nice quality. See, we got 3 of what they call ability dice. 2 of what I think are supposed to be proficiency die, but there's a V in there, so it's proficiency dice. 3 difficulty dice. 1 challenge die. 2 boost die. 2 setback dice. And a force dice. So, it's a set of the dice and all the ones that it says you need for the game. They all, as you saw, they have their unique symbols on them. This is another advertisement, this time for the full version of the game. Then we got a map. Now first off, that's cool. It is, they call it the crate thing. Which is, essentially a rip-off of the Millennium Falcon for a different story. See, they painted it rust-colored, so it's not the Millennium Falcon, because that wasn't rust-colored. But, it's the Saga Edition game came with a map that was bigger, but not really as useful. I'll use this. This is, I always gotta have a spaceship. But it came with one, sort of in the book that you tore out. And it unfolded. And this one also has the back here. Now these maps aren't made as like a square grid or a hex grid or anything. Doesn't appear. So I will actually have to read that section on how to use a map. But they have some interesting stuff, and it's not as nice a quality as the Pathfinder one that we had before, where it was all laminated. It's just paper, so be careful with it. But, and, 4 character portfolios. Which I think there was an extra one on the website, if I remember correctly. So you got Ascara the Bounty Hunter. You open it up, and they did the thing where you got your character sheet in the middle, and some rules, explanations, what the dice are, the symbols are. what to do on the player's turn. And the character sheet with your characteristics: brawn, agility, intellect, cunning, willpower, and presence. Skills and combat skills. Weapons and equipment, gear. Stop here, don't turn the page until instructed to do so by the game master. We're doing so anyways. And it's the character sheet again? Oh, this is for leveling up. It's another partially filled out version for leveling up. And it looks like it sort of tells you, you know, here, make one of these choices. So that your first level up, I guess, is not as challenging, you don't have as much to look through. And then sort of a blank one, or starter version for as you continue. Bounty Hunter Talent Tree. Interesting. And how to invest skill, experience points. And then her background. You got a smuggler, which is of course the same sort of setup. 41 Vex, a colonist, which is also appears to be a droid, is its species. A hired gun. And we got something in a plastic bag, and I can tell why, because they're popping out. They're gonna fall out. And there are these tokens, which are same on both sides. We got that rusty looking Millennium Falcon. Right there. Yeah, one sheet of tokens here. Yeah, we got, I mean, that was one of the characters, and then those are, so we have the characters. We have a hut, some stormtroopers, some sandstroopers, looks like some droids, some of the aliens we recognize, some aliens I don't recognize, and point things, I guess. Or maybe they're just extra tokens to represent other guys you need. And a proof of purchase, which will pop out. So I guess anyways, these larger ones I guess are also for space battles. Oh, and we got the... These with an R, but I don't know his name. But anyways, the big monster guy. So that's cool. And then the last book that you would read, that was on the top originally, is the rule book. Since the adventure explained a lot of the rules, stop, open the adventure book first! Playing the game, positive dice, negative dice, so it's going to be like interesting having to learn the actual way that dice work, because I don't know, so I'm not sure if it's going to ultimately... Yeah, those were destiny points. And, okay, because of that art there, I noticed the back of those points there, they have a different art. But all the rest do appear to be the same. Okay, so those are different on each side. Combat. So yeah, in addition to just learning, like, you know, you always have to do the basics of the game and how the system works, you're going to have to learn really how rolling dice works within the game. talents. Okay, it's explaining the talent trees and has descriptions of those talents. Gear and equipment. Blasters, brawling weapons, melee weapons. Weapon chart. Has criticals. Starships and vehicles. Interstellar travel, hyperspace, and profiles for vehicles. Both, it appears, space and non. Adversaries, minions, rivals, nemesis. And then it gives stats for some of those. Skill descriptions and the dice again on the back. So, it looks like it'll be a good way to learn the game. I know the full rulebook was quite daunting, and it is. It's a completely different, with the new dice, it is a completely different kind of role-playing game experience, because you're counting up different types of symbols. I mean, what is... whatever. Like this appears to have a couple different symbols, and some sides will have two different of the symbols on there. Anyways, so it'll be a completely different sort of learning experience, and it'll be nice to be able to learn the game before committing to the full price of the full rulebook. And the map was cool, other than, I mean, it didn't have a grid on it, so I can't use it for another game. It'll really be based on how this game works. So, Star Wars Edge of the Empire. It's not packed, but if you're interested in what's going to be the upcoming game for the Star Wars role-playing, looks like a good way to check it out, learn the system, make sure you like it before you commit to the full rule book. So I'll link to it, and I may link to the full game as well. If that's out, I may just link to the product page. Or of course, check out your local gaming store, and have a great day.